The Say Something podcast is brought to you by amomentwithmorris.com and blackblueprints.com. That's blackblueprints.com. I am Jermaine Morris here with the one and only Mr. Barry Accius.
Peace and blessings, family.
As we are bringing you the Say Something podcast.
Say something, say something, say something.
Where we get together and talk about everything out here in this life, in this world, in these streets.
In these cold streets.
Yes, bringing you episode number 46. I had to think about this one. I had to dig deep on 46. So this is a shout out to on the Lee Smith side. If you know about Lee Smith,
Chicago Cubs.
Very good, yeah. Lee Smith,
baseball dog.
Yeah, he was the closer. Like he had the held the career saves from like 93 to 06.
Okay.
Like he was somewhat of a disappointment on the pitching the full game, and they learned his strengths. And if you don't ever know about Lee Smith, he was a beast. Everybody talks about like CC Sabathia or certain pitchers.
Yeah.
Lee Smith was 6'6", 265 as a pitcher. Like, I mean, he took the mound like a power forward. He was a big dude. Yeah, he was 265 fighting weight as he played a little bit more. That 265 was creeping around the 275, 280 mark. But he was the dude that came in to save the day. You know, he was Cubs was notably where he pitched for, but after he had issues at the end of his career in Chicago, he then was just bouncing around. He was on 7 teams in 8 seasons.
That dude was wild, bro.
But yeah, he was at issues towards the end. They're thinking that's what keeps him out of the Hall of Fame, all that shifting around at the very end. He probably eventually gonna get in there. But a shout out one time wherever you at. Little love out there.
Lee Smith, baby.
Lee Smith.
That was the OG.
Yeah, with the curl and everything out there.
Yeah, he definitely had his curl.
A little curl out there on the mound. So lots going on. We had a little break while we was out there.
Man, traveling.
And shaking.
Moving and grooving.
Couple events that happened since the last time we got together.
Moving and grooving. Events is happening. We're doing events. We're pushing the movement. Hardline. I have the Unapologetic Black Excellence Tour in your city coming to you. Going to Arizona next. Just got back from Miami. Was just in San Diego. Doing something in Sacramento and hometown city. Unapologetic Black Excellence Tour. You better ask somebody about your city. Why it's not in your city. If it's not in your city. Because we're going out there. We're talking about black excellence. We're talking about not apologizing for your blackness, brother.
blackblueprints.com.
It presents Unapologetic Black Excellence Tour featuring the one and only Barry Accius. I'm here to disrupt, make folks uncomfortable, makes folks see the light, because there's a whole bunch of black folk that think that we're okay in this system.
And that is just not the case. One gentleman had to recently learn about not playing with the system. Free Meek.
I got my Free Meek Mill t-shirt, man. Sweatshirt, man.
Rapper Meek Mill, I'm sure, unless you've been under a rock, he just had the state of Pennsylvania just told him to go sit down for his parole violation for popping a wheelie on a bike.
And also getting into a fight. Yeah,
fight earlier. He just... a lot was brought to light when addressing the system for Meek Mill, because this is somebody who was, I think, somewhere around 11 years now for probation for something that he was originally given 5 years probation for. It's just that he continuously was having parole violations, so they tacked on more time to his probation, because I think, they're playing the Vegas odds that he's going to screw up before the shot clock runs out. So they just kept extending his probation. He kept messing up, and they just kept stretching this out to where now this last time judge was like, how many warning shots do you need? So they gave him a minimum 2 to 4, to put him on timeout. Because he keep playing with this system that obviously ain't playing with him.
I have a lot to say about this matter, because there's so much to say about this matter. And it's so unfortunate. And first of all, I want to do a disclaimer. I don't want anyone to think that I'm a Meek Mill hater. Or am I not emphasizing or sympathizing the situation of what he's involved in or what has happened to him in the court of law in this broken system.
Yeah.
Well, in the broken system for the black male and black woman or for the people of color, but a system that works perfectly well for white America or those who are filthy, filthy rich that ain't of color. One, let's go back into how Meek Mill has gotten to this point. Think about his rise to superstardom and even that moment where he was about to be a mainstream success story from the rags to riches, right? And when you look at it, I look deep into it. I'm thinking like Meek Mill has been taking some heavy L's ever since the whole episode of him coming out, dissing his man Drake, right?
Yeah.
And just going on this rampage of showing whatever he felt was fraudulentness in an industry full of frauds. But when you go back and you look at how he got out the first time out of jail, right? And the streets were loving him. Main Street started to really engage in this Meek Mill thing. And he had one of the hottest chicks in the game and Nicki Minaj, right? It was like the dude was sitting on top of the world, man. Like it was like, okay, this is going to be the next big rap hip hop superstar. I mean, they look great.
Yeah, till 2016.
And then all of a sudden, man, like, no, seriously.
Yeah, no, I said 2016 was not Meek's year.
2000. So the disc came in 2015, right? Later on, 2015.
I think the jump offs. 15.
2015.
He took all L's in 16.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So the instigation of that feud started at the end of 15. It just moved and navigated all the way to and I remember why I know it happened towards the end of 2015 is because I remember I was in Chicago in 2015 and the song had been already worn out and they were still bumping it in Chicago on radio stations, right, back to back. It was the infamous diss song that Drake did to Meek Mill. And I was like, yo, going into 2016, I remember Nat Nicole had just passed away. And I was like, damn, this song is like a year or so now old. And they're still buzzing off this song. Yeah. And later down on the line, of course, the guy who had the baddest chick in the rap game holding him down eventually left him. Which you look at the song and you point at like, well, that's what the song kind of predicted anyway, the song that Drake came in. And then just the numerous times of him getting into fights on Instagram with stans, fans, or certain folks in the media. And just his records, regardless of what he tried to do, wasn't able to get that notoriety or that number one spot that you felt like the streets pretty much gave up on him. So now you have a situation to where you're looking at Meek Mill, and I know a lot of folks want to sit there and look at the system, and I see a lot of folks make reference to the white boy that got like little to no time with the rape case. Yeah. And I'm sure you'll probably break that down a little bit, but they're trying to make these examples. And though I get it, I think what folks are missing, and I think a lot of us in the black community, we tend to gloss over something that is very important, and it begins with an A, and it's called accountability, right? I tend to look at this situation with not as how the system failed Meek Mill, but as far as the accountability that we have to look on his actions. Yes, he got those two cases that we talked about, the fight in St. Louis, the popping a wheelie and the reckless driving in New York, they were thrown out. But let's look at the fact that in a court of law, when you are on probation, you are not even supposed to sniff.
Straight and narrow.
You know what I'm saying? You're not even supposed to sniff police. When you look at his countless and numerous songs basically victimizing, terrorizing, street anthems, street glory, and not giving a fuck about basic norms in America or in the hood, you also have to say, well, shit, his music is perpetuating something. And let's not forget about the infamous incident where some of his soldiers jumped the Safari Kid, right? Yeah. In Hollywood. So you look at all these different things and you channel in that this dude is walking around like, I'm on probation, so fuck it, I don't give a shit. What happened to him, right, is a reality of his behavior that he's basically shown that, all right, well, y'all might have thrown the case out, but I'm still going to do what the hell I want to do because I'm Meek Mills, I'm rich, black, and I'm thugging. So the reality is that though it may be wrong in a sense, there has to be accountability to the actions of any normal Joe. If we were on probation, we wouldn't even have been able to get this far, to the point where the judge finally threw the book at him. And regardless of if the judge was black and the judge has a grudge on him, whatever. At that stage, it doesn't really matter, because the brother, from the few times that I remember the case coming up, thinking that, oh damn, dude's probably going to get hit with a few different charges, he's been able to skate. I think that it became a part of, you know what, dude, you're not changing. And this is a lot of why I feel that our justice system is so shaded in a way to where it's like, all right, well, you're going to allow cats to kind of just keep on walking the plank and just let them jump over before grabbing them back and say, you know, before you do too much, let me pull you back. They just keep on giving, because it would have just been, all right, you popped the wheelie, you did some reckless driving, here's your goddamn violation, right? It would have been better at that. But the system, as we know, there's so much money grabbing, there's so much undercurrent, there's so many deals popping in the back room, right, that we know from the incidents of folks getting probation. Oh, you will do 100 hours of probation. I heard the story. Justin Bieber was supposed to do like 100 hours of probation somewhere, and what he did is he bought a playground for this facility. Yeah. So when you think about it in an overall whole, the guy was pushing the issue already. He has just become a victim of, I think, his own stupidity and the fact of him thinking, I'm Meek Mill, I make too much money, and I have enough lawyers that can protect me, I'll never see a day in jail. And I think that ego and him not understanding I am a black male, regardless of my money, I am OJ, Jay-Z piece, right? And the accountability of looking at it like, regardless of what I may think and what people may not know, and we don't even know half of the trash that other folks probably know that he might be affiliated with in the streets of Philly. We just know the shit that's reported, right? Yeah. So it comes down to accountability. How do we always look upon the system, which I know is flawed, which I know is broken, but that doesn't work for us, and we should know that when we're involved, because him being on probation, which is crazy to me, it's like he had probation since he was a young kid for this long period of time. Evidently, he's violating or doing something to keep him on before getting off. So I think that though it's a fucked up situation, you got to understand what you're dealing with in systems like this that are in place and take some accountability of actions.
Yeah, realistically, all Meek Mill is to me right now is a younger version of O.J. Simpson. The fact is that OJ went to prison on some stuff that he should have known better because of his situation dealing with courts. Since he's gotten out, he's been banned from a hotel, bar, casino. There's already talks about him having a run-in in Vegas since he got out like a month ago. Like, you keep thinking that this system is playing with you, and you keep thinking that for whatever reason you're exempt because somebody else seemed to get off on something. Or I saw so-and-so, he got a slap on the wrist. I should get a slap on the wrist. Negro, no. You should appreciate the fact that they didn't come after you the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time that you had to keep going back to court for something. So we had talked about it briefly, off air. about how the 3 strikes law came into play in California. And one of the first cases that was hit was a guy who, on his 3rd strike, it was a robbery, where I think the total he got off the dude was like less than $20.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is that robbery assault got him his 3rd strike, and that's what he got 25 for. Now, if you want to make the argument that you shouldn't get 25 years of your life for less than a dub, that you can make that case. But the reality is what you did prior to that moment is why you got 25.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, did he deserve 2 years for popping a wheelie on a parole violation if it was an isolated incident? No. But the fact is, people forget he's on probation. Gun charges is what got him on probation to begin with. Like, it's not like this dude has too many unpaid jaywalking tickets.
And gun charges got him on probation. And what is his rap music still talking about?
I'm saying. So I appreciate the fact that this system can be incredibly corrupt and can be incredibly biased and slanted and all that stuff. All the more reason we all aware of that. So it really, to me, is just something that you should not be playing with. And if you're in a position to where you've got resources and you can do community service and you can spend a little money and you can do a little PSA and stand in front of a group of kids and that wash away your time, appreciate that and go on about your business.
It just, to me, I get tired of the Negro that finally gets to a point to where he doesn't have to live in the lifestyles that so many folks struggle just to get out of, continuing to put themselves in a trap. And it's almost like a circus. You've had, brothers like T.I., in trouble. You have had brothers like DMX in trouble. I mean, there's such a host of artists that just have gotten that plateau, have gotten that golden spoon, and continue to dig themselves in a system. I mean, wasting money upon money. I mean, Gucci Man, another brother who, now's finally got out and seems he's cleaning himself up and getting another opportunity. But the funny thing about it, we're sitting here upset about this whole Meek Mills thing, but we're not upset and we're not marching, because now the folks are marching and using him. Out of all the people using him as a platform of showing how
they're
the
down
system
at the courthouse
is broken, and I don't even really, I don't know how I feel about that, because again, I don't want to sound like a Meek Mill hater, even though I was definitely on Drake's side. First of all, because I was like, well, if you guys are homies, why are you even talking about what you guys are supposed to have as an intimate conversation and kind of putting them on blast for the sake of others? So right then and there, it's like the Negro is suspect to me on that end, right? You're breaking codes on that level. But here you are taking up for a guy that I don't really think gives 2 shits about any of the prolific movements that have been happening that are fighting social injustice, just for the fact that he's a big name. But in the simple fact, we have political prisoners that ain't never seen the light of day, that really haven't done nothing but speak upon the justice system, speak upon inequalities, ain't created or had any criminal activities, though they've been linked to things that have never even seen the light of day, just because. We're not doing and marching for that, right?
I look with him, he is in an industry, in a society which is notorious for not holding people accountable for the things that they do. And you're in an industry and you're in a business and you're surrounded and affiliated with people who know how to make things go away, and you have a business where people look the other way for things
all the time.
So when you get accustomed to watching the executives in the office that you check in at, are doing shady dealings, backroom stuff, screwing people out of contracts. You know that they're inappropriate with staff and stuff. You see the drugs flowing around. You see, and this is all folks in suit and ties. I'm not talking about whatever street ties is in his music. I'm talking about when he shows up to Def Jam offices, when you show up to Columbia offices, when you show up to Sony offices, and you see all these types of things that are going on the regular, and it's business as usual. To a degree, you think that you're a member of the club just because you in the clubhouse.
You feel like you're untouchable.
Yeah, you feel like realistically, you see a lot of entertainers who start to hang out with athletes. You go into the club when they're over, and you're there in bottle popping with LeBron. You out there clubbing with James Harden. You showing up to the game. You sitting courtside. They high fiving you at halftime. You hanging out all together. But you got to remember, you are just hanging out with the player. You don't play for the Cavs. You don't play for the Lakers. You're not in the NBA. You just tight with them. And there are a lot of us who forget that just because you in the room, that doesn't make you a part of the club. So when you see people who are doing certain things and involved in activity and stuff just goes away and stuff just gets a check, makes something disappear. And man, he in court all the time. Oh, don't worry, man. I'm calling, Joel Steen, Osmond and whatever. And that's what I keep him on retainer for. This will be done by lunch. You think that applies to you? Because, Meek Mill is in the music industry, which is, just a department of the entertainment industry, which has been catching hell in 2017 for all of these things that are common practice of dirty dealings, that people have been cutting checks, or people have been feeling untouchable, or people have been feeling they don't have to be accountable to their actions. And when you find yourself in those environments, you can get trapped in your head. You can get caught slipping in your own mind, thinking that that can help work out for you, and you start doing stuff a little more recklessly, and you're not on your square and your P's and Q's, and you'll find that Meek Mill is the one that's got told to go sit down for 2 to 4 years, but Weinstein is out walking the streets. Ben Affleck out there in these streets, Steven Seagal out here in these streets. Charlie Sheen out here in these streets. All these dudes that have been getting, the executives from Billboard magazine, Rolling Stone magazine, TV, film. The allegations that have been coming out just of the last 90 days of activities that dudes have been, sexually assaulting, sexually harassing, some flat out just raping broads, that they've been letting stuff go the other way. These accusations, it look like a grocery list. You think that it's about to be a blockbuster movie when you see the cast, when you see the director, the producer, the film company, the actors, the names involved, who's doing the music. Like, you think this is about to be the second coming of Star Wars. Man, with all the blockbuster names associated with all these accusations. And I think that, people who get in an environment where people look the other way think it's going to apply to them. But I think the main thing to say something to is saying something about all this unaccountable behavior that's going on. All these people out here who just been doing and coming and going as they please. And now some of this stuff's starting to come to the light because a lot of folks been out here doing a lot of wrong.
Bill Cosby, Michael Jackson. You are now vindicated.
Out the hot seat.
You are now vindicated by the crimes that you've been accused of, the crimes that you probably did, because we know that it didn't come from a place of selfishness or lack of understanding and whatever other sick thoughts you had. You learned it from the masters, because it's a culture that you was involved with, and a culture that you was in thrusted in, and all lies in the dark will come out to the light eventually. And just listening to this stuff, I applaud every folk that has come out. But again, we realize the powerful entity called white privilege, how if it was these folks that I just talked about, Bill Cosby, Michael Jackson, that was hung, that was pretty much publicly lynched by the media, as if they were an isolated kind of situation, as if they did not learn from those who had opened the door, the culture that they kind of saw that this was a societal norm in their realm, right? That it was, oh my God, I can't believe Bill Cosby, and oh my God, Michael Jackson. This is all things that they learned, that they saw, that folks was getting away with for decades. For the folks that sat there when Hugh Hefner passed away, black folks celebrating him and trying to tell me how much good he did for the black community, but then I try to find out what Playboy magazine had ever really did overall for the black community, and I couldn't find any traces, and no one could tell me what. Though Hugh Hefner might have had willing girls, the dude was still, in my idea, a pedophile.
Jodie
right?
Foster was she like 13 or something?
Wild shit, right?
Yeah.
To a place that continues to celebrate Woody Allen as a great director, producer, and he's the godfather of the pedophiles in Hollywood. To even the simple fact that a child molester admitted that he molested children. The actor, the father that played Seventh Heaven,
yeah,
that guy who hasn't been brought on any charges, and then now you get a power broker like Harvey Weinstein and so many more
and his
other brother as well,
and his brother Bob.
And then you have C.K. the comedian,
Louis C.K. Well, see, I think the interesting part will be is what they go after them, because you had Louis C.K. got the allegations. He originally was like, I don't know what they're talking about,
and then he finally
then he was like, oh, everything, it's all true. Then you had Kevin Spacey, who got allegations against him,
and he turned gay.
Well, he's been gay, but
okay.
Well, he came out the closet.
Okay, yeah, but you say he's been gay, but finally admitting it and saying I'm gay, whatever.
Yeah, well, there's been stories about that man for years, but he came out for
about it. But there's been stories of all these people for years.
Well, no, but I'm saying with in regards to Kevin Spacey, the network had to drop him because once those allegations came out, Louis C.K.'s show got pulled. He had a bunch of stuff lined up. His movie got dropped. His TV show got pulled. His show dates got canceled. Kevin Spacey's Netflix show, The House of Cards, he got pulled off of that. There's a bunch of executives. The executive producer of the show, the CW shows, the Supergirl and the Flash, he just got pulled because of sexual assault allegations. Like I said, guys in charge over at Billboard, at Rolling Stone, these dudes just got suspended. Like, there's dudes now, they're starting to go through and they're making professional distancing. Like, oh, you caught up in that? I can't really touch you right now. But there's not personal vilification happening with these dudes.
Nah.
Well, I'm just saying. So,
no, I'm just saying. Yeah. Nah, you're totally right.
Like, Bill Cosby was the devil.
Dog, he was
for what he did. All these women, all these allegations, this, that, and the third. This dude is horrible.
They beat him down to the fact that it made him sick. And this is not at all to say Bill Cosby wasn't one, because I believe Bill Cosby, 61 women ain't going to come out and say you raped him. And then at the same time, when you admitted it.
Yeah, the culture of slipping roofies. And my thing, and prefacing that too, is that my thing is not those dudes shouldn't be. Cosby shouldn't get a pass because other dudes was doing too. My point is that these other dudes need to be lynched also.
Understand the root of how he discovered it.
Yeah.
Negroes, like there's things that I always...
He wasn't doing that in Philly on his own. He learned that.
Come on. There's things that I always look at when folks... And of course, I always believe in accountability. But my thing is, when I talk about things that have happened in the black community due to white negligence or just plain out white ruthlessness, if I know something like crack cocaine can affect and create addiction in a community, I'm not going to give access to that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to allow guns and turmoil and lead it to a community that I know that's already embracing so many other deficiencies. I'm not going to allow myself to put my daughter in harm's way of certain things that I know maybe if she latches on to daddy doing it, she may do it in the end. So in these matters that we're listening into and we're thinking about, like, there's no way that folks that we've looked up to, the folks that we've probably celebrated, that in our culture of black folks, these kind of things we never really did. But throughout slavery and throughout history, you look at how we've been mistreated and how we've always kind of looked at white society and things that they did as kind of like, whoa, I want to do that too. So I'm not surprised that some of these Negroes pick up some of these traits. Like when you go into Hollywood, like, of course Bill learned that shit from that motherfucker, because where else he going to learn it from? He ain't learning it from us. You know, we're not doing that.
All those things are positions of power and privilege and influence. So you can't start that with nothing. So you learn that from people who have power, resources, and influence. You say, oh no, this is how we do this. This is how this goes. So you're like, oh, okay. And then as you get your weight up and you get a little more influence and you get a little more resources and you get a little more access, then you can start flexing on people.
Yeah.
And then you can start doing it on your scale. Yeah. You can't do it on their scale, but you got to look at a period of time. Bill Cosby was one of the most powerful people in media and TV.
Exactly.
So at that era, if you look at that time period, he had a lot of resources and influence. He had the #1 show on TV for it was a go-to. His slot was locked up. You couldn't touch that Thursday night, 8 p.m. slot. Whatever else you was doing on another network, you was just practicing. Because when Cosby Show hit at 8 p.m., whatever you was doing on your network wasn't getting watched. And when you have that much influence, you can't tell me that that's not going to trickle over into your behavior dealing with people. Bill Cosby was a dictator on set. Like when it came to the people who had to work with him and work for him, the way that things was done on those sets, A Different World and The Cosby Show, it was Bill's way or get the F out. And in that degree, when you got that much control and that much power, and you've seen how control and power is used, you're going to start doing that. And all these execs who've been coming out now, who are just getting named every 20 minutes, a name is dropping, and the list is going to get longer and longer.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Because one thing you got to realize, too, about power structure, it's all about positioning. There are people who have been waiting for an opportunity to leapfrog up out of a position, and they've been waiting for names to come out so they can change up. There's some dude who right now is an assistant who's just staring at that corner office, and he's just he'll leak the name himself about who, so he can make, there's going to be no honor amongst thieves.
And go ahead.
But I think something that we need to be mindful of, because there's some of us out there who'll be like, man, I don't care if you get up in Hollywood, that's just what it's about, and you know what it is that you signed up for. But that's a particular lane. This is the same stuff that's happening in school systems. This is the same stuff that's happening in the church.
Government.
This is the same stuff. Well, I'm talking about on the personal level, where it's that pastor who's touching little girls and little boys.
Eddie Long.
It's that teacher, that math teacher who's touching little boys and little girls. It's that uncle that's touching little boys and little girls. So some people will dismiss those types of things because, well, that's with them and they getting paid money and they sold that out to be celebrities or whatever. But the practice of looking the other way, that practice of not speaking up and not saying something, I think that we got to not just be hung up on what celebrities are doing, but shine some light on them folks that we know personally.
I think that in society, we are so used to not discussing certain things, and we're afraid to, blow out certain individuals. That's whether it's in your family, in the church, because you don't want other people to look at you like, you're crazy. And I think in the simple fact that folks just don't really want to believe that that person had a character to do that.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine that just got convicted. He's due to serve maybe 8 years. He hasn't been sentenced yet, but they're holding up 8 years in his face for having such sexual misconduct with a minor, and he was a math teacher, right? And this is a good guy. I mean, from what I know, right? But it caught the best of him, and to me, and I think, and for us, our line of work, we're subject to that every time we walk out the door. When we work with these kids, I mean, being in a framework of building relationships, of basically being sure that we're in the right place to where we're not doing anything that makes them feel any kind of way. Right? Definitely making sure they don't think that we're drawing some energy. I am constantly thinking about that, right? Whether it's, hugging a kid, making inappropriate comments. I'm always thinking, and I'm aware of that. I don't try to say anything, especially with my girls, that will make them think or suggest, Mr. Accius was kind of being a little fresh with me, right?
Well, Mr. Accius turns into Barry.
Oh man, I'm just saying.
You know what I mean? Like where it's like,
Nah, I don't play that game. But I know what my responsibility is, and I'm accountable for who I am and what these kids see me as. So when you have, and it's a lot in the black community, I'm just going to focus on that. We just don't want to out that person for the simple fact that, one, we don't believe people are going to care. 2, we don't believe people are going to believe. And 3, that we don't want the backlash. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to have to be in that moment of why we're explaining why we're saying, well, Uncle JoJo touched Lorraine, and they're like, well, why? Well,
why you ain't coming over to grandma?
Exactly. Like, why? You know, why would you say that? Because our acceptance, and this goes back into our accountability. How is R. Kelly even able to do music?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, how is R. Kelly even able to make songs? And even when you think about it, how much what was going on in Hollywood was, I really consider a social norm there. Listen to the BBD lyrics. Backstage, adolescent.
How you do?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Backstage.
Underage. Yeah.
Adolescents. That song on Do Me Baby, you sang it over and over again. And then you're like, now in 2017, you're kind of like, oh, yeah. it's as clear as day. Elvis Presley was dating young girls, right? How old was
Elvis was 25 and Priscilla was like 15.
So it was considered societal norm. You know, it wasn't like, I remember watching some of my older guys, 20 some years old, like dating girls my age, 14, 15.
Every girl in high school had a grown ass boyfriend.
Right?
Yeah.
And
15, 16, 17, got the 20-year-old pulling up, picking her up.
And even, being like high school, you turned 18 and you got the 16-year-old girlfriend. That was like a norm, right? Yeah. It wasn't seem like, oh man, you're dating a kid. No, it was like, well, she's in high school, I'm in high school.
We in the same math class.
Right? Yeah, exactly. The same math class. So you tend to understand how some of this thing can kind of be mixed up, because we in society have accepted it to be okay. Even in the olden area, you can get grandparents that are 20 years apart.
Yeah.
Right? And then started dating. Grandpa was 25 and grandma was 17, But the shift of where it becomes not okay is when you're creating advancement to folks that don't want it. But then I got to look at how in the freak did we allow someone who is our current president in office, Mr. 45, and why I make that funny joke, but it's not really funny. I call him the pussy grabber. Is because here he was talking with another cohort in Hollywood, a guy that was known in Hollywood as a Hollywood reporter, talking how these white males talk, right? This is how they discuss things. This is what they do. And then when you look at all that's been going on, you notice and now know why Gwen Paltrow is where she's at, right? As much as they will seem to be a victim, this kind of propelled a lot of their careers. This is why Kevin Spacey was in the spaces that he was in, right? Because they actually have joined a cult, sold their soul. Now they're talking about it in ways of, well, I'm talking about it on Standing Out. But in reality, you utilize this to your own degree to get you to a place to where now you can talk about it. Because if you had talked about it and spoke on it before, you would have been fucking chastised and outcast.
Yeah, well, I get those dudes. Like, I like, so all these execs and these actors and singers and stuff who are starting to come out, who are getting sexually assaulted. Most of them, and a lot of these cases, were adults when it happened. They were in compromised positions. You can complain about him just feeling on your behind or grabbing on you or whatever. But you ain't about to work no more. And some of them swallowed their pride and in some cases other things so they can stay in the business. Well, I think something that we have to make sure that we pay attention to, like I said, on the personal side, is when we're not talking about adults in a case of your profession or your job. We have people who are getting victimized. You speaking of segue to, even coming off of Meek, he was with Nicki's brother. Nicki Minaj's brother was just convicted of sexual assault against a minor. He was convicted from repeatedly raping an 11-year-old girl. Like, there's in some cases for months, 4 times a week, sometimes twice a day.
Say that again?
So he was raping an 11-year-old girl, And there was for months where it was at times it was 4 times a week, and in some cases twice a day.
11-year-old girl.
An 11-year-old girl. Her 10-year-old, I don't know if it was her brother or her cousin, whatever, he caught him. Like he just came down to the basement or whatever this downstairs room was, and he saw it. And Nikki's brother jammed the 10-year-old up and was like, "Did you see anything?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he slapped the hell out of him. And he kept asking him the same question until the 10-year-old realized how to answer. He's like, "Did you see anything?" And after getting smacked like 10, 11 times, he was like, "No." And so he was like, and the 10-year-old was like, if you say anything, it's on for you. So he was raping this 11-year-old and punking this 10-year-old to keep him terrified. That sort of stuff is that I think that we need to sit there and make sure that we're aware of too. Because I think something we need to stress on is, depending upon your get down, for a lot of us in our community, it's the holiday season. So-and-so, big sister's coming home from college and she bringing her boyfriend. Everybody's going to grandma's house and Uncle so-and-so that everybody know you ain't supposed to leave the kids around, but yet he's still in grandma's house, them get-togethers. Mm-hmm. And I think that we don't say enough within our community and with our family and hold these people accountable for the stuff that they doing that they ain't got no business doing, and we ain't got no business co-signing for them.
I just, again, when I hear these stories, I'm trying to figure out, how do these folks exist? Right? How do these folks exist? How do these folks get away with these deeds for so long with finally someone now coming out and putting a stop to it? But how does it continue? Like, how is there a continuation of certain behaviors? And we allow it in society and we just close our eyes to it like, oh, but now we want to talk about it when all shit hits the fan. You got Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, and you even got our President Obama, Hillary Clinton, who was going to be our president, that are denouncing Harvey Weinstein because they were getting money from him. They were doing movies with him, and now they were like, oh, well, you know what? We don't, like y'all didn't know.
Yeah.
That's the thing about all of this. Sandusky situation in Penn State. Paterno knew everything, right?
For years.
And the reason why that person, because we were talking about folks want to try to, maybe move people out, and that one person is waiting for their opportunity to say, okay, we're going to fix this. That's exactly what Penn State did. Like, you know what? We're going to crash and burn for maybe 3 years, but we're going to get ourselves back up because we are Penn State. Yeah. We just got to get out, some of the trash. And Joe Paterno was like, Joe Paterno would be coaching right now. Right? He would be coaching right now because he was like, I'm the coach for life. And folks just didn't know how to take out the beloved Joe Paterno. But the way you do that is you open up a can of
he dead now.
Yeah, well, he's dead. But I'm saying, I know how you do, you open up a can of worms that you're not going to ever come back from, where it's going to push Johnny Public is going to look at you like, is he still your coach?
You got to scorch the earth. You got to get rid of everybody who was connected on any level.
And so with the Joe Paterno and a Sandusky thing, it's just like, ultimately, folks are not coming out to be good Samaritans to say, look at what's going on. Because if that was the case, it would have happened a long time ago. Yeah. It's about ego. It's about power. It's about positioning. And these guys are now being outed. And these women, with our help, I'm happy, or some of these males, I'm happy, are strong enough now to tell their story, is now not being looked upon as you're complaining, you're making up lies, that, actually, there is truth and there's validation to everything you're saying. But there's someone that opened up the can of worms to allow all these things to have a domino effect, because there's something that happened that someone didn't do that they were supposed to do, and now folks are like, okay, watch what I do now.
Yeah, like I said, when we start talking about those things, like, I believe that a reason why a lot of these Hollywood stories is exactly that, is positioning. There's a lot of the figureheads are old. So they're on the entertainment side. Music is dying the way it's currently ways. So that degree of structure has changed. Movie business stuff, a lot of the old heads are exactly that, old heads. There's going to be some shifting power up in there. So here's a good way to clear out a lot of that stuff, and it will justify closing offices, letting people go, and doing some shifts on that. I think that what we got to make sure that we stay mindful of and accountable of is just because you didn't do the act, if you know about it and don't say nothing, your hands are dirty.
Yeah, just as guilty.
You know what I'm saying? But I think that there's a lot of us who walk around thinking, I didn't do anything. Because take the Sandusky thing at Penn State. There was a janitor who witnessed something, and he went and said something and realized nothing was done, and then didn't go any further with it.
Yeah.
Like if I told Craig what I saw, and Craig don't act on it, and I know it's blatantly wrong, I got to go past Craig now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just leave it like I did my due diligence because I told somebody and walked away.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I think with what we do is we look at stuff like, I'm not trying to out the pastor. I'm not trying to out the coach. I'm not trying to out the teacher. I'm not trying to be the one who disrupts this championship run team. Our school, we going for the final. We going to state champion. Are you going to be the one that dismantles the cheer squad?
Yeah.
Or takes away,
But I think that this is, again, society norm. Nobody wants to be the person that creates that avalanche effect. No one wants to create that firestorm, because the scrutiny that you deal with as you're trying to speak the truth. I mean, think about those folks that outed Eddie Long.
Yeah.
Until folks' story, and still to this day, folks still have not really gravitated to those people's story. They've kind of like, it's almost like a running funny joke that Eddie Long is who he is, yeah. Right? Eddie Longstroke, right? Yeah. And we're not talking about for the women.
Yeah. But
in the same sense, in his death, no one acknowledged these prior incidents and these things. It was denial, checks were wrote, and it was like, all right, put it under the rug. Bill Cosby, even in a sense, Michael Jackson was defended by the black community to all degree, yeah. Right? So you have a situation that I think, and even in myself, where folks were asking me, well, why you put your boy out there like that? I said, well, shoot, if my dude did something wrong, I'm not going to sit there. I don't want anyone to believe that I'm connected to this. Like, he's my guy. I say, but wrong is wrong. You know what I mean? I mean, you shouldn't have caught yourself slipping, sexting some young girls. Why? Because motherfuckers going to start looking at me and start trying to check into what I got going on. And I don't got shit going on, right? Yeah. So I think collateral damage in a sense of folks, because as what I'm hearing from Harvey Weinstein, his power is so tremendous still in Hollywood, all these different things, because I'm sure he has a bag full of lies and scandals from that are connected with other people, yeah. That he's trying to use his power to blackmail certain individuals that have kind of come out to speak against him. But I think that we live in such a sick society that is not accountable or allow folks, again, looking at R. Kelly, like, okay, he hasn't been convicted, but the proof is in the pudding. And they still are able to be in mainstream. They're still being able to be at the table. So it's almost kind of like, well, why should I say something when no one's really going to do something about it? I think that's where folks get a lot of that pushback. They don't want to be the one that's creating a firestorm, because the unfortunate thing, when you're starting to point fingers, folks are going to start, pointing fingers at you on what you are doing and why are you saying this? What do you have to hide? And at the same time, folks just don't believe you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Folks won't believe it from your mouth, from your eyes, because folks have put themselves on a pedestal and made themselves whatever character that folks want to believe. That they're like, when Bill Cosby first came out with all his pieces, and I hate the fact that we're using Bill Cosby as an example, because I want to stick up on these white males in Hollywood being exposed. But just looking at Bill Cosby, it was so hard for folks to believe Mr. Huxtable was a rapist. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I know you understand the character of what Bill Cosby played, but you don't know Bill Cosby as a person. And it was hard for people to differentiate that person from that person, right? From the rapist to the guy that you see on your TV screen every Thursday, right? We have to get to a point to where, one, this is not norm, and two, that the way black folks have been, I think, segregated out of Hollywood because they don't want to do all these things that some folks have done to move up the ladder, right? For every woman that sat there and said of some sexual advances that were made that they weren't too okay with, the ones that were okay with it, to make these guys believe, well, why aren't you giving me some ass? Jody just did it just like 2 movies ago. You see where her career is going. I think that just kind of freaks me out on how really deep this shit is going to go if they really open the Pandora's box on how Hollywood has kind of lived under this sexual misbehavior and pedophilia. Like when Corey Feldman, who I think has also come out a while ago and spoke upon how bad it was. Yeah. And again, folks looked at him like, yo, dude, come on. And his friend Corey Heyman, some years ago, who died over overdosing of drugs, but really in reality, it was because of the pain that he suffered and the trauma that he dealt with during the moments that he was this actor and being molested, as we hear and as we know and see in this. How can we still give our monies? How can we still want to participate in this thing that they call Hollywood if it's that dirty, if it's that shitty, if it's that much nastiness and scandals in this fucking thing? How can we kind of like still say, I want to be a part of Hollywood?
Because you got to weigh the upside to the downside. So you have a lot of people who are saying, because if you look at it too, a lot of people sit there and say these child stars that fall off. Well, a lot of that comes from trauma. They've been assaulted at such a young age that by the time they're 18, 19, 20, they're like, oh, they're washed up in Hollywood. No, they're just broken people. You know, it's the idea of come out and smile for the camera is they just can't do it anymore. They weren't old enough at the time when they got into the business to be able to process and to handle and to move forward. So a lot of them, people wonder what happens to the Macaulay Culkins, and all these dudes that all of a sudden are like, oh man, he was crazy. The Corey Haim thing, he was raped by Charlie Sheen, and
is that
that's the accusation that he was, I guess you would say, willing, but he was 13 and Charlie Sheen was 19. So at that point, when they stopped the movie Lucas. Okay. And so he was saying, Charlie Sheen was all up, you can take whatever story of Charlie Sheen's story. Everything's on the table with a Charlie Sheen story. And he was saying, Charlie hit it in the trailer or something, whatever. And then they said after that, because at that point he had already been molested, Corey, apparently. So the gravitating to a male predator was kind of what he did. So he said Charlie was messing with him, and then right after, he said Charlie kept shining him off. Like Corey would try to talk to him, whatever, and Charlie was just giving the cold shoulder, like I hit it, I'm done. And that sent him into more of a depression after the movie. Like now,
And this is a story that's out.
This story came out years ago. It is now again resurfaced. So Corey spoke about it, I guess, when it happened to some people he knew. His story kind of came and went because you're talking about Charlie Sheen back then, who's the son of Martin Sheen. Yeah. And Martin Sheen back in the 80s, 90s was the dude.
Yeah.
So this was, and then his brother is Emilio Estevez. Yeah. So this is a really open and close, like no one's going in on this. And so then the story is now again resurfaced. Charlie Sheen's pulling, I don't know what you're talking about. He damn sure ain't gonna cop to nothing from 35 years ago. So he's just kind of like, whatever, I don't know. But these are the type of stories that are going around regularly. Eddie Winslow, Family Matters, Darius McCrary.
Yeah.
He just came out saying, I'm not naming who touched me.
And then you also had, who else Who else came out there? He played a doctor. I don't want to say ER. White guy. Anthony.
Yeah. He had his issues.
They said he came out. He was molested.
Yeah. I mean,
dude, this shit is crazy, man.
You're in a position to where if that's the culture, where taking what you want is the culture. There will be some of you who realize how much juice you do or do not have when the repercussions come. Others, if you have enough and you're in the clear, you keep it pushing. And, especially, like I said, you're going to see a lot of reports come out, probably going up to about 2000. So the Clinton administration hit the brakes on a lot of stuff. So when Bill Clinton got caught up in that Monica Lewinsky stuff, there's a lot of corporate policies that changed. There's a lot of ways you do things shifted. So you go pre-Bill Clinton, like I said, these stories you're hearing about from the early 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, going back. You're going to hear a whole lot of them stories come up. And then you're going to start seeing the people who are involved are typically people who were still around back then. So, like I said, there's going to be a lot of these stories that are going to come to light. But my thing is that we have to start being mindful on the day-to-day level. Because some of us walk around and be like, man, I don't work at Sony. I ain't got no say-so in this film director. I don't know nothing about this engineer stuff. Yeah, but you know about your Uncle Steve. You know about your sister's boyfriend. You know about Cousin Clarence. You know what I'm saying? You know about Aunt Deborah. Because women, there's stuff going on with women too.
And women, and the thing about it with women, they make a young man feel like that was right. That Auntie Sue is just showing me how to be a man. Yeah. And how to deal with a woman as a man, which is, no, that's called fucking perverted sexual misconduct.
It does the same damn. We look at when we see the 27-year-old
highly sexual,
cute, English teacher who messes with the 14-year-old boy. We feel differently about that as a society than the 27-year-old English teacher man who messes with the 14-year-old girl.
Even though I probably would have done it.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but for the damage that it does to the child, that what that throws off, because at a certain age you're not able to process the emotions with the mental, with the physical, and compartmentalize that. That's where you get a lot of super sexualized children, because you introduce them to stuff too early, and they don't know how to properly compartmentalize where this goes. You'll hear about children who are molested when they're kids, and then they're having sex willingly with somebody at 11 or 12. Because once you introduce it, there's a stimulation they're trying to get back again, but don't have the actual faculties to put that where it's in its place and have the structure of when and where to do things. Like, we just got to be mindful of what we can do. And like I said, most of us are not in positions of power where it comes to major industry. We may not even be the man at our job. You may not even be in charge of hiring where you work at. So you may not think that, well, I ain't got no say-so over him flexing on the secretary. I say something, I'm fired. We both out of work. So some of us don't get involved that way. But some of us need to start getting more involved. Because the only way that you're going to curb that behavior is to destroy that culture.
And the culture has to be destroyed immediately. Yeah. Because all it does, it creates, again, societal norms that folks feel like, well, it's done to me, I should do it to somebody else. Yeah.
It just happens.
Yeah. That's just a part of...
It's just life. You'll just get over it.
That's a part of what you got to go through to get to
you'll
the top.
Daughters will come home, college, talking about a professor this or a student that or whatever, and then as soon as they're breaking down to their parents, mama's telling her a story about what happened to her. These are just the things that you got to get over. These are just the things that happen. And I think that we have to start destroying, how the word is intended, destroy these types of cultures. Destroy the idea that you can lay in the cuts. Destroy the idea that you can walk out and perform Step in the Name of Love and the whole crowd's going to cheer for you. Destroy the idea that you can still come around on Thanksgiving and sit across the table from the 2 kids that you touched. Destroy the idea that you think you could still chill in the neighborhood when you was touching folks at the swimming pool or waiting for little kids in the bathroom and think that you could still come around again. Like, I think that we got to get on that mentality of that village of outing these folks, not only socially, but we need to get these folks up out of here. You know,
period.
Like that. It is not. I ain't telling condoning nobody to do nothing that you're gonna do some time over, but we have to remove that comfort within the culture. You know, if the worst thing you're thinking is gonna happen to you is I gotta go to the office across the street because the company had to let me go, because that's all that's happening with these execs. You leaving this building and then you're gonna have to do some behind the scenes work across the street, or we gotta leave you alone while you're hot, let the heat cool off. And then we'll call you next year.
And I think that if it was just Harvey Weinstein that was getting hit, then I think that would have been able to be isolated incident, and he just went down.
Put the sacrificial lamb up.
It's become a train wreck. It's become a I'm going to now tell on this person. Everyone. I'm not going to be the only one going down.
Nino Brown in the courtroom.
The whole shit.
Oh, let me tell you about the light skinned brother at the bank. This is bigger than Nino Brown.
Even let's not forget about what is it? The judge, Roy Moore.
Yeah.
And
going for senator, whatever.
All that, piece. I think it was a senator piece. And the fact that our president speaks nothing about it, but folks had so much to say about Colin Kaepernick. It's just those things when I say white privilege. And again, I definitely want to say to my black folk, this is the Hollywood that you want to be accepted in. This is the Hollywood that you're crying over, that is not allowing you in the American award. What is it? The Oscar award.
Yeah.
This is the Hollywood that folks have been saying, well, I got an Oscar and I'm validated. But the reality, this ain't all Hollywood, because this is not the behavior that, we are known for, though it's become irritably more obvious that there's some folks in the Klan that don't mind it, right? That are people that don't mind it, because we don't hold folks accountable to these incidents or this behavior. Again, how R. Kelly is being played. I told a sister that I was talking to, like, you listened to R. Kelly the other day when you was listening to your Chris Brown CD. She's like, no, I didn't. I said, oh, go look at this album. I just heard it in a barbershop. And I was like, who is that? Is that R. Kelly with Chris Brown? And she started screaming. She said, oh my God. Yeah, pay attention to what you're listening to. Because guys like OJ, guys like R. Kelly, guys like Bill Cosby that have been utilized and put in the forefront of our American society as these are the isolated incidents that have been done, when in reality, these are not isolated incidents. It's white males in America in these positions of power, whoever they may be, have shown these brothers, this is how you work the system, because with power comes great responsibility, but within power comes a lot of corruption. And then the corruption, as you see, as most motherfuckers think that they can do anything, whenever, and with whoever.
Because I think that stuff that we address is the stuff that gets changed, and the stuff that we ignore is the stuff that continues. And if we have these horrible cultures within our society where people are being victimized, being abused, being hurt, your silence and your complicity for what's happening is you an accomplice.
Yes, sir.
And so you can't just say that my hands are clean because I wasn't out there doing dirt, but your inability to say something is why your hands is dirty.
Indeed.
Say Something Podcast. I'm Jermaine Morris here with Barry Accius.
Yes. Barry Accius. I'm just going to jump in. I already know what you're going to tell me.
Well, I got to tell that for the folks at home where they can find you online.
Barry Accius Facebook, Barry Accius Twitter and Instagram at Team Voy, and blackblueprints with a Z.com.
I'm Jermaine Morris on Facebook. Every other social media platform is at JMorrisCEO. On Twitter, the Say Something Twitter is at We Say Something, as well as Say Something Podcast at gmail.com for any info about anything that has to do with the podcast. Folks can guess whatever. Hit us up. And until next show,
holla.
And we'll holla at you later.